my friends, and welcome back to another pick a card reading. I cannot believe we are going into the month of April, but if you didn't know already, I have changed the pricing on my website, and there's a few details and stuff that have changed on there, so feel free to check it out. The link will be in the description box below. And yeah, I'd love to book personal readings with you and give you a little bit more insight on specific parts of your life that you are hoping to look into. So a few things before we get into the reading. First, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has liked and commented and just given me general feedback, or even just watched the YouTube videos on this channel. I really enjoy doing these pick a card readings, and I've been kind of trying out different formats and stuff just to see what kind of works best and the sort of formatting that you guys really enjoy. And a lot of people have said they really enjoy the videos where they could see my reaction as well as the card layout. So I'll be going back to those instead of the bird's eye view. In the future, I might mix it up and sort of, you know, have some days or some months that I do a bird's eye view kind of reading, like the last couple of readings that I've done, or I'll, you know, put in the extra hours and do some funky editing. So either way, I really enjoy it, and I'm so thankful that you guys are also enjoying it and watching and apparently getting a lot of insight. It's really great to hear feedback and hear that the readings resonate with you. So thank you so much. For this reading, we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna get real funky because I want to get to know you and your journey, and maybe you want to get to know you and your journey too. So we're gonna be doing a bit of self-reflection with our reading today, and I'm calling this You in Review. So basically we're going to be looking at who you are, or perhaps who you were, and then a pivotal period of your life that has happened or is maybe upcoming, or you're going through it right now. And we're going to also take a look at who you're becoming, who you're growing into, and sort of your steps to get to that next version of yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello my group ones. If you picked the Black Obsidian Cube, this is your reading. So like I said in the intro, the layout is a little bit different for this reading, just to mix it up, you know, keep things interesting. So I have 3 cards here for you. The first oracle card, the first astrological oracle card, is going to show us sort of the energy that perhaps you were in before or you're in currently. And then on the other side, the right side, we have the oracle card that's going to represent who you're growing into, who you're becoming. In the middle, we have another oracle card from a different deck, the Magdalena Oracle, which I am still using, still borrowing, but this card is going to represent that pivotal moment in your personal journey that has kind of pushed you to become this new version of yourself. So the card representing your energy before this change is Pluto, which is really interesting and kind of guides me to believe that if you chose group 1, there's a likely chance that what you're going through right now is probably tied to that pivotal moment. Like, this is something that you're experiencing right now because Pluto is a representation of transformation. So Pluto is very much tied to the Death card in the tarot, and they carry a lot of similar meanings. Just that idea of like rebirth, because Pluto is the Roman god of death, and the underworld and stuff like that. So very much rebirth energy is coming through. Pluto is a very like mysterious, private kind of energy. So I feel like the energy that you're in right now, or perhaps you were in recently, is very protected. You keep to yourself. Maybe you're very much an introvert. I can relate, but you're probably going through like a lot of life changes. Yeah, maybe even some ego deaths. I know Pluto in different tarot readings has kind of been linked to that. But yeah, I also feel with this card, you're doing a lot of internal work. You're sort of going into the underworld and digging things up from your subconscious. So yeah, I think you're carrying a lot of heavy stuff, or you were going through a lot of heavy stuff before, and sort of getting wisdom from that, building yourself up from that, from the experience that you've had, and you've kind of been going through it and reflecting. Or maybe that's just kind of how you always have been. But I think like for a lot of you watching for pile 1, I really think that you're already started on this journey, whatever it is. There's like a big change kind of going on in your life right now that's affecting you personally, and it's gonna lead to sort of a shift in self. Like you're growing into a new version. We're gonna pull the Oracle card and see sort of what the true pivotal moment is. So, oh, interesting. Okay, so the card you got is God. And whether or not you believe in like a specific God or the universe or spirit or source, that's fine. Take it as just like the like creator entity, or you know, the spirit of whatever your personal practice is. So with the God card in this oracle, it says, you may be asking, does God really exist? And if so, where is God when you need him most? Often it is in our times of greatest need that we feel the most alone. This card is your confirmation that you are never alone. The universe has heard your call and wants you to know that the loving presence of the divine creator always fills and surrounds you. Surrender your fears and concerns. Accept the healing light that is being offered to you in this very moment. Out of fear, we try to swim against the current. This is a waste of time and energy. Trust, accept, and let go. Though there are bound to be many twists and turns along the way, you'll be pleasantly surprised where the river of life eventually takes you. And there's a little message at the bottom here. It says, each life is like an ocean, forever yearning for love's shore. We ebb and flow, not realizing we eternally bathe in the sea of love. So whatever internal stuff you're dealing with, whatever stuff you're keeping sort of bottled up and you're going through, that sense of surrender, I think, is sort of a key idea. Letting the universe do its thing, knowing that there is love for you, and just maybe even if it really appeals to you, making a connection, like devoting more time to being spiritual in whatever way resonates best with you. Of course, like that isn't going to resonate with everyone, but you're doing a lot of like deep critical thinking, which can be a bit heavy. So I think this element of like there is something greater could be a really important reassurance for some, and maybe like really understanding that, or having a moment where you feel okay to just let go is going to allow you to move forward into this new space, whatever it may be. So we're gonna look at what energy you're kind of moving into. So the energy that you're moving into is Aquarius. That's really interesting because Aquarius is often seen as like the eccentric person. They don't really follow the status quo a lot. They're seen as like rebellious or revolutionary. So maybe the like internal work that you've been doing, once you sort of let go of the things that are really weighing you down and just like leaving it up to the universe, surrendering that, you almost like harness the strength of the things that you can control in your own life, and you choose sort of a different path for yourself. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, it's almost coming through to me as like you sort of recognize the things that aren't working for you and you're like, no, I'm gonna be innovative. And I think that's also gonna be something that people notice in you and kind of admire, because Aquarians, I find, tend to stand out a lot. And it's not so much that they like, they're attention hogs or anything. It's just like they are so, their energy is so different, and it's really, it can be refreshing to some, but there are going to be people who don't really understand, and that's perfectly okay. I think that also is sort of where the God card comes in, of surrendering the things that you can't control right now and just being like, whatever, like not everyone has to like me, that kind of thing, instead of really feeling bogged down with like the energy that you had with this card, where you're kind of committing yourself to the underworld. Yeah, I think you're gonna break past that and sort of establish new routines. Kind of unusual, but I think it's really gonna work for you. So we're gonna shuffle some tarot cards and sort of see the path that you're gonna follow. I'm gonna get a few more. Thank you. Interesting. We'll take one more. One more if you got it. A lot of cups coming out. So that's really, really interesting. Also highly interesting is Aquarius, even though like the symbol is the little water wigglies and like aqua and stuff, it's actually an air sign. All right, we're gonna take this guy. I'm also gonna take the bottom of the deck energy, which is the King of Cups. So again, another Cups card. You have gotten all Cups cards and Major Arcana, which is very, very interesting. So the first card that came out was the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups represents like creative opportunities, whether you create them yourself or they come to you. It's also very representative of this intuitive person. So I think that you are probably a very intuitive person, and that might also come from like a lot of introspection. So spending a lot of time on your own, reflecting on things, you've probably like spiritually aged yourself, I guess. I find people who put a lot of time and energy into sort of their own work tend to come across as old souls. If you've heard people call you an old soul before, then this probably resonates. But yeah, so you might be getting like intuitive messages just like as you're working on yourself, or perhaps this is even maybe not an intuitive message as a whole, but there might be like key things, keywords in this reading. If you sort of clicked on this reading without knowing my channel at first or whatever, or you were just really, really drawn to this pile, that's already an intuitive message for you. So, and then we have this element of curiosity and a desire to explore new possibilities. So again, whether you create those new opportunities, those new possibilities, or they kind of come to you, I feel like you're gonna create them just based on like, well, okay, for some, you're definitely gonna create them, but I feel like you're more likely to be creating them if you're already sort of in this transition period and moving into like that Aquarius energy. Like you're already starting to grow into that Aquarius energy, and you're not so much in the Pluto mindset still. So I really think like you're going to create things just because you're very out of the box in terms of like thinking, very creative. So yeah, you need that ability to be innovative is really, really powerful for you. That being said, on the flip side, and for some of the people watching, I think that some opportunities are going to come to you just because of the God card that we saw earlier and that need for surrender. I think once you start letting go of the things that you can't control, good opportunities are going to come to you. So, you know, it depends on what stage you're at. So keep in mind this is a general reading, so, you know, gotta get everybody in there. So the next card that I have for you is the Sun card. The Sun card on your journey, it's really giving me like a lot of the flip side that Pluto brought us. So Pluto is very dark and secretive and like private, whereas the Sun card brings this element of warmth and positivity, and not necessarily like extroversion, but there's definitely like a connection to others, and there's like this surge for life, like in terms of your outer world, which again, like Pluto is very inner. So I think part of the journey is getting outside, getting out of your comfort zone even, I think is what that one's saying, because I think you're gonna find a lot of things that really resonate with you, really connect to you, and bring you joy, things that you weren't really expecting for yourself, which I think is really, really exciting and interesting. But you're gonna have to get out of your head a little bit. So the next card that I have for you, it's another Cups. It's the Ace of Cups reverse, and reversals don't necessarily mean like negative things, just FYI if you are new to tarot. But this is indicative of repressed emotions. So again, Pluto, you know, you've got like between these cards, you've got one path that is very external and joyous and positive and warm, just like a lot of vitality, you know, and then you've got the other, which is sort of this reflection of the Pluto state of that repressed emotion. But again, there's this push for like recognizing your own intuition and sort of knowing when those deep, darker thoughts get too far and you need to stop and sort of devote a little bit of time to self-love in order to reach that, like the Sun card element. Because once you sort of recognize that part and you're like, okay, no, I need to do self-love, I need to get in touch with my body, my outer world right now, because I'm getting too in my head. I'm focusing too much on these repressed emotions. I need a way to positively express it. So maybe journaling might be a good thing for you, or just with the Sun card, I'm feeling like it might be good to talk with someone else. So whether that's family, friends, a therapist, something like that, it'll sort of depend on like the level of, and I guess the weight of the emotions on you currently, because you really shouldn't be burdening yourself with like constantly overthinking these negatives. You gotta break past it and sometimes too, the self-reflection can like spiral. So yeah, I think this card is saying you intuitively know when something has gone too far in terms of your own connection to your personal subconscious underworld kind of thing with the Pluto card, and you're like, whoa, hold up, wait a second. That moves us into, sorry, before we move on, the King of Cups card represents being emotionally balanced. So again, I'm seeing with all of these Cups cards, like, you have this capacity, and I guess that's like the key point of your personal process and sort of the pivotal steps that you're taking. First, you have to surrender the things that you can't control, and then your next step is to pull yourself out of the underworld state through intuitively knowing your boundaries, even with yourself, in terms of like self-talk and stuff like that, and maybe getting another person involved. And once you do that, you'll be able to better recognize your emotions and your emotional needs, and I think that's going to sort of give you a balance and probably bring you to be like externally compassionate towards others, which I think is really, really beautiful as well. So the last card that came out for you is the Chariot. So I'll show you that guy. So for the Chariot, this shows like action and determination, and you're en route to success, and probably very quickly. Like I was saying, when I flipped the Pluto card, I feel like you guys are already kind of going through this, or at least a lot of you guys are. Yeah, you recognize the things that you can control, and you surrender to the things that you can't. But your willpower in terms of your own emotions, it's going to surprise you, I think, once you like go through this pivotal period and sort of embody that Aquarius energy that we saw you growing and moving into, where you're going to sort of restructure things and challenge the way that you've personally done things in your own life, and maybe even inspire other people to challenge the way that they've done things in the past too. And that's not to say that the things, like everything that you've done in the past is like negative, but just kind of like intuitively knowing what is and isn't working for you anymore. We're gonna pull some other tarot cards just for some final thoughts, and yeah, see if there's any further indication of what you can expect on this journey to either the pivotal moment or the new you. Thank you. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the card that came out was the Moon. It's deeply tied with intuition, which we've seen throughout this spread, but it also kind of gives me this indication of the anxiety and fear, I guess, of not working intensely on yourself. Yeah, with the Pluto card, I feel like you have this dedication to sort of be the best that you can be, and a lot of that is you feel like you can get there through hypercriticism of yourself, and that's just not true. Part of your growth, especially in this journey, is knowing when to rest, understanding rest for yourself and what that means, and like maybe that's the self-love you need to show yourself, is just giving yourself a break from this self-criticism or this like deep desire to constantly be progressing with your own deep emotions. There is an anxiety with that but you, like, think about it this way. Like, you already have a transformation. Like, it's coming through in the cards. But this transformation, this self-growth, comes from you giving yourself a break. And I think you, like, once you do that, you'll realize the transformational abilities that provides, you know? But I do recognize that there is this sort of fear and, like, you clinging onto the desire to work diligently towards that on your own. A really big part of, like, the pivotal period of your life, or the pivotal message, I guess, for you is give yourself a break. Because whether you're about to embark on this period or you're going through it right now, you're going to really understand that this also is a learning curve. So I'm gonna wrap up there, my group ones. Thank you so much for letting me read for you today. I hope that this brought you a little bit of insight. I feel like I've gotten to know you better. Yeah, have a rest. You deserve a break, and maybe get some water, because there's a lot of cuff scarves here. So stay hydrated. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, my group twos. If you picked the Sodalite, this is your reading. So I have 3 cards here for you. The first oracle card, the first astrological oracle card, is going to show us sort of the energy that perhaps you were in before or you're in currently. And then on the other side, the right side, we have the oracle card that's going to represent who you're growing into, who you're becoming. In the middle, we have another oracle card from a different deck, the Magdalena Oracle, which I am still using, still borrowing, but this card is going to represent that pivotal moment in your personal journey that has kind of pushed you to become this new version of yourself. So to begin, we have the card that represents who you were, or perhaps who you are now in your journey, and that card is Jupiter. And this is really interesting, and this is a positive card to get. So I feel like I should mention at this point that just because this is represented as like a past you, and we're looking at how you're going to change, it doesn't necessarily mean that this part of you is going to be lost. It's just going to evolve. So with the Jupiter card, I'm feeling that you are, or you were, like a really optimistic person. You know, things would always go your way, and you're kind of impulsive at times, or you were impulsive. I mean, input the past or present tense for whatever part of your journey you're on now. Yeah, with the Jupiter card, it's like I'm getting just this vibe of like all smiles and like good times, you know, the impulsiveness, which I think can also show up as like risk taking. There's also this element of you being able to get out of that, because I'm getting like smooth talker, so you might have been able to like talk your way out of tricky situations and get away unscathed. But yeah, so Jupiter, really about good luck and just like an overall optimistic view of just everything, which is really interesting because that's a very positive outlook. So I'm curious to see what the next card is. So we're gonna look at what sort of embodies your transformation, what you're going to be growing into, what energy we can expect you to grow into and become. So the card is, oh, interesting. The card is Venus. And of course, Venus is the Roman goddess of love. This is very interesting because I feel like it's still a really positive card. But I think, okay, so between Jupiter and Venus, just the general vibe that I'm getting is, for Jupiter, the good luck and the optimism and the success that is there is very much centered around yourself. And I don't mean self-centered, like this isn't necessarily something that you are fully aware of or were fully aware of. I think things just worked out for you a lot of the time because of your like smooth talking abilities, or general, like, you give off like a really good, you create a good atmosphere, you know, it's easy for people to like you, so it makes it easy to get out of those tricky situations. But you've kind of used that like positive energy has always sort of circulated back to yourself, and that's not necessarily like a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying you intended on that. I think that it just came naturally, and why wouldn't it, honestly? But with the Venus card in the future placement, I feel like this is really showing that you're going to go through this transformative period. Some pivotal moment is going to happen, and we'll get to that in a second, that is going to sort of shake you out of that cycle of returning that positive energy, or having it serve yourself primarily, to other people. Like, you become someone who actively shares that positivity with others, or just that general success, you use it to show others that you care or help them on their journeys. Because with Venus, I think of like lovers as well, and think your inner optimism in terms of like your abilities and like, you know, the successes that you've had is being reflected in the things around you and the people in your life. So you're able to, like, I guess, help them get to success, but also just celebrate the successes that they attain themselves. So I'm really, really curious to see sort of like what this pivotal moment is. So let's take a look. So you got Mythic Reality. So Mythic Reality, it says, something is causing you concern at present because you are viewing the situation from only one perspective. Look with an open heart and mind, and you may see that a positive side also exists. Things may very well turn in your favor if you let go of preconceived ideas and rigid views. There are at least two perspectives from which to view every situation. What you see at present is only part of the picture. Often, what seems real to us may not necessarily be what is actually occurring. The true purpose of many of life's events is often unclear because of our false assumptions, fears, and misconceptions. There is no need for concern. Just allow things to naturally unfold. All will become clear to you. Remember, you may not have the power to change the world or many of the events in your life, but you have the power to change your perception of them. All becomes clear when I view it from a higher perspective. Group 2. You're going to encounter a situation, or perhaps someone you know is going to tell you about an experience that they had, and suddenly there isn't an optimistic perspective, and you sort of come to the realization, I think, that the good luck that you've had is really, like, it doesn't happen to everyone. I think you're really gonna realize how lucky you've been, and I think that will lead you to kind of a self-reflection and realize, and help you to realize, that you have certain privileges that others may not. And there are situations, you know, where someone can't smooth talk their way out of it, or maybe even you get to a point and you're in a situation with someone else and you can't get either of you out of it. I don't know what the situation would be, but there's just like no positive outcome. And I don't, like, this isn't meant to scare you. I really don't think that this moment is, it's tough to say because for some people, I feel like some people watching this, I feel like you're going to have like this really, really shocking moment, I guess, where someone tells you sort of their experience and you're like, oh my gosh, like if I had been in this situation, I would have done this, this, and this, but it just wouldn't have worked. And you're kind of coming to realize that, and it's gonna be like a big moment for you. But at the same time, I think there's other viewers watching who, like, it might resonate more, you might resonate more with the idea that you go through this more minor moment, I guess, where you're involved in the situation with another person and suddenly, like, there isn't really a great outcome. It's not detrimental, I don't think. It is definitely a reality check. I'm really curious to get more information, so we're gonna pull some tarot cards. I'm just gonna, and I will be shuffling live, though my camera is, oh, okay. Oi. How many cards do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3. Gonna get 1. Oh my goodness, 1 more, and then we'll get the bottom of the deck energy. 1 more for group 2. What do we got? What is going on with this journey? The Venus card. Three cards jumped in, but I'm gonna ask it to summarize because I'm gonna run out of time otherwise. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm just gonna take this and bottom of the deck energy. Interesting. Okay, okay, okay. So you've got the Strength card in the first place. So with the Strength card, again, there's like that element of charisma and persuasion, just general influence on your situations and stuff. So again, like that sweet talker energy, being able to like optimistically get out of situations or just like have a belief in yourself. There's a lot of Leo energy. Strength represents Leo, so maybe you're Leo, but definitely that like almost a coy attitude, so watch out. The next card we have is the Queen of Swords in reverse. So the Queen of Swords in reverse is like this more emotional energy, sort of thrown off balance, off kilter, weirdly came to me. Where you once had an easier influence on others, suddenly you have this moment where that falls flat. It doesn't work out as easy, and it almost seems as if there's a misalignment between perhaps this exterior person has an impression of you that doesn't fit how you feel internally. And I think it's because they sort of see this energy that you have, this like sweet talking energy, this like very confident energy, as they just don't necessarily see it in a good light. And like, yeah, this might be like this mythic reality card that came out earlier might be saying like, hey, sort of keeping that optimism, keeping that like, keeping the perspective you have about yourself is not keeping you from growing. And I think the Queen of Swords card in reverse is sort of saying like, it's going to take someone else to kind of shake you out of it, to call you out and say like, you're pompous. And like, not to say that's necessarily true, but I think with this card coming out, it's saying you need to reflect on like whether or not you're showing the positive values that you feel you have to other people, or if you're using them kind of to help yourself get ahead. Sorry. Sorry if that's tough to hear. I mean, hey, if you're getting to this reading before this person comes in and tells you what's up, you're ahead of the game, you know? But if you're watching this ahead and you still don't look at, you know, how you treat yourself versus other people, I don't know what to tell you. So the next card that we have is the Four of Swords in reverse. And this represents exhaustion. It also represents deep contemplation though. So it's kind of that like, it's definitely a self-reflection card. I think that we're onto something for sure. Whew. Group 2. When I started this, man oh man, my energy was so frazzled. Like specifically for your reading. I don't know if it was because I had taken like a break between filming part 1 and part 2 because my camera died, but I mean, I'm out of breath, but I'm always out of breath because anxiety. So the Four of Swords is, yeah, that deep contemplation, taking a moment, looking inward and kind of being like, oh, oh, okay. Sorry, the idea of like a feeling of grandiose came to mind. So I don't want to call you guys out, but I feel like there's certain points where you definitely do think that you're, you know, further ahead than other people, or maybe you are just like very sure of yourself and it kind of comes off as like flaunting or bragging. So just be mindful of that. Maybe do some reflection and sort of see how you can turn that energy outward. Is basically like, I say that as a suggestion, but from the cards, like this is your next journey. Who you're evolving into is someone who puts out like this really positive energy towards other people instead of having it serve yourself. Sorry. But the next card that I have for you is the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. You're getting a lot of reversals, which isn't necessarily negative. This this tarot really goes for the jugular. So the Eight of Pentacles upside down, self-development already. And we know this. This is what the reading is. But there's also this element of like perfectionism. Don't do this. Like, don't put your energy into this because you want people to think good of you, I guess. That's the wrong reason to move into this. Do this because like you have the capacity, you know, you have the ability to embody that Venus energy. Yeah, you've got to go into this transformation with the right state of mind. Because yeah, if you kind of misdirect the activity, then it's gonna backfire and you're probably gonna have to go through this learning process again. Sorry about it. Now with the back of the card energy, we got the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Again, literally the only card that's upright in this row is the Strength card. My dude. Okay, so with the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, this is sort of calling out your self-worth a little bit. I feel like once this jarring transition happens, your first instinct, I think, might be like a cockiness, but then in your own time, once you start reflecting, you might fall into this like mentality of negativity for the first time, I think. And you might get caught up in that and then commit a lot of work, and then it just becomes a scramble to prove yourself to others. Like I was saying before with the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, be wary moving forward that you don't, again, like that you're putting your energy into this for the right reasons and not just because you need people to like you, you know? Like really, really consider the gifts that you have naturally and how you can share those with others. So I'm gonna pull one final tarot card for you and hopefully just get a message or hello. So we have the Queen of Wands upright. The Queen of Wands again is saying like you have the ability to like move through this moment, this pivotal moment, and still have a lot of the positive energy overall that you had at the beginning. It's really going to translate into the external world, and you're going to like start showing that optimism or sharing that optimism and, you know, supporting other people, showing love to other people. And I think once you sort of realize this within yourself and get to a place where you want to change just for the betterment of yourself and not necessarily to like impress other people or have people like you, then you're gonna move forward with determination. Again, with the elements of the Jupiter card, that skill that you already have to make the best of a bad situation it's gonna come through to you, but you just have to kind of shift your mentality around it a little bit, shift the goals, the end goals. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes your reading. Sorry group 2 if this went after you a little bit, but yeah, I hope it gave you a little bit of insight. Leave a comment below if this resonated for you. I would really, really love to hear. Thank you for letting me read for you today. I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, my group 3s. If you picked this cute little jade baby, then this is your reading. The first oracle card, the first astrological oracle card, is going to show us sort of the energy that perhaps you were in before or you're in currently. And then on the other side, the right side, we have the oracle card that's going to represent who you're growing into, who you're becoming. In the middle, we have another oracle card from a different deck, the Magdalena Oracle, which I'm still using, still borrowing, but this card is going to represent that pivotal moment in your personal journey that has kind of pushed you to become this new version of yourself. So to begin, we're gonna look at the energy that you either currently embody or you embodied in the past, and that is represented by the Libra card. So I feel like you are probably someone who is perhaps a bit indecisive, probably very reserved, but also someone who is really, really committed to fairness. It's funny, if this resonates with like who you were in the past, I almost picture like a childhood memory of you sort of getting angry with another kid at school or whatever because it was your time to play with something and they had a certain amount of time but they didn't want to give up the toy or whatever, like that kind of energy. You also There's an element of passiveness I'm also getting, even though you notice things, you don't necessarily want to get involved. I feel like that kind of encompasses the energy that I'm getting for this. Yeah, nothing else is coming to mind. That was surprisingly quick. So we're gonna see what card has come out to represent the energy that you're embodying as you go through a pivotal or transitional period in your life, and that is represented by Mars. Okay. Whoo, baby. Okay, so like I said, that passiveness of your previous, like the previous version of yourself, is going to go through a pretty wild change, I'm guessing, in order to get to this Mars energy. So Mars is the god of war. That like desire for fairness is gonna jump out. You're gonna become a fighter, or maybe you have become a fighter because of something, some moment in your life. But this wow, this is probably one of the most drastic jumps, the most drastic jump from like before to after that I've seen out of all three spreads so far. So I'm really curious to see what this big old moment is. So, so the card is Sacred Sexuality. It's a little bit racy, but I'm so curious. So this card means, the Sacred Sexuality card says, sexual energy is perhaps the strongest motivating force that we humans possess. Yet this energy is alone one of the most misunderstood and misused energies. Sexual energy, when honored and combined with love, takes on a sacred form and becomes an extraordinary power. This form of sexual energy is the greatest creative force on our planet. Great achievements in all areas of life are possible when we learn to control and direct our sexual energy towards a particular endeavor. Sacred sexuality is a spiritual merging of two souls. This merger may be physical and spiritual, or it can be a purely spiritual one. Both are equally valid and powerful. Sacred sexuality is also a communion with the divine. Reflected through one another, there you come face to face with God, Goddess of all there is. It is through such a union that you soon experience a most profound sense of love and bliss. This experience will have a profound effect on your life. Honor it, for it is truly sacred. Thank the universe for this blessing. So, despite the raciness of the card itself, this doesn't necessarily have to actually mean like a physical union. I don't like to use the idea of like feminine and masculine energy because honestly, gendering energy doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, it's really hard to separate like feminine from the idea of women and then masculine from the idea of men. But basically, one is represented as acting and then the other is represented as receiving. So you have that give and take kind of energy, or this moment where there's going to be give and take, and whether that is shown to you by yourself or it takes someone else to kind of show you that you have the capacity for that as well. Because I think with the Libra card, that passive energy is more just receiving whatever comes, whereas the Mars energy is more like an action card. Quite literally, it's like the action. So, oh, that's so interesting too, because like there is an inherent balance in you. There's the scales at the bottom with the Libra card, obviously. So this balance of active or acting and receiving energy is innately within you. And I think the Sacred Sexuality card is kind of saying that, and it might take your exposure to someone else, whether that is physically, like if this is a lover in your life, or if it's something more like mental or spiritual, then I think it's going to usher you into this Mars energy. And you're not going to lose the Libra energy necessarily, but you are going to find the balance with it and have sort of that, like, you'll know the moments that are best for you to act as like the receiving energy, and the moments for you to act as the acting energy in a certain situation. But I really think the pivotal moment is actually going to come to you as a person, which is very interesting. Group 2 had another person coming to them. It's interesting to see it show up in this. I wasn't expecting anybody else to make an appearance in the readings for a review on you. Once you reach this balance, you're going to be able to be more assertive for yourself and maybe even for others, and reach that balance. Ooh! Incredible. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the tarot and sort of see how this comes about. I want more information. I want more details. This is juicy. Okay, let's see. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, okay. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Are these for me? I'm not sure. They'll come out again if they are. Okay, so let's get 3 more cards, and then we'll look at the bottom of the deck energy just for a little tidbit. Oh, thank you. Interesting. Oh my goodness. Oh, amazing. Okay. And bottom of the deck energy, we've got the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. So I'll set that aside. Okay. What do we got here on this journey? So the first card that popped out for you is the Queen of Wands. This is confidence and courage coming out to play. There is an element of being social, so I do think there's almost like this putting yourself out there kind of energy coming through. And I think there is an underlying determination in you. I feel like you have the fight. You might feel the fight, but you've never really like allowed yourself to speak up. You've kind of taken a back seat and you just let things go really easy as not to like cause any drama, I feel. But I feel like at your core, you know, you have this Mars energy that's kind of dormant. So let's see how she makes her way out, how she makes an appearance. We've got the Page of Pentacles in reverse. That bad boy is telling us that, this sounds so weird, but this is what came to mind. You're kind of like collecting regrets. So all the times that you didn't really speak up for yourself, like in terms of fairness and stuff that you've seen, or like unfairness, you haven't spoken up in those situations, and you kind of carry a bit of regret. Like you want to work on that, and I think you're determined to get better at actively speaking up in those situations, which is great. I think, yeah, like you know this transformation's happening. You've been planning this for a while, but you just got to have the courage that we saw with the Queen of Wands card to really put yourself out there. And it's gonna be like kind of scary at first, but I honestly think it's gonna be pretty wild once you get into it. So the next card that we have is the 3 of Swords upright. So the 3 of Swords, this is tough because this is like emotional pain and grief, and I think also quite literally, I'll show you the card again. There may be someone who backstabs you, and at this point you're like, I'm done. Like this is the moment to speak up for myself. I am done just taking everything as it is. Like, I have a voice and I am disrespected in this moment, and like, go after him or her or them. Who knows, okay? Who knows who it is, but look, you gotta you got a bone to pick with them because they're skeletons. Anyways, finally we've got the Six of Cups, and this upright is sort of, this is a signifier of joy. So I think you're gonna be really proud of yourself as you like move through the situation and stand up for yourself. It's gonna be nerve-wracking for sure to like speak up and have that courage to take a stand for yourself or for someone else, but I really think that it's gonna happen to you. This is just telling me, like, after this moment you kind of look back on the times that maybe you didn't speak up for yourself, and you're gonna realize that that's just coming from a place of innocence, you know? I think you're gonna also reflect on like certain situations that you were in and realize that in those moments you felt safer to just let those moments pass. And it's okay to like start learning now. You're gonna hold compassion for yourself when looking back on those memories, because you honestly, like, you know how scary it is to speak up for yourself sometimes, but like, yeah, you've recognized that you were innocent and young and like didn't really know what to say or like how to speak up. So for that kind of thing, you can let yourself off the hook. And then again, the back of the, or the bottom of the deck energy was the Six of Pentacles in reverse. And this is saying like self-care coming through. And I think you're gonna realize that speaking up for yourself and maybe setting boundaries and stuff like that is self-care. So you need that balance, you need that like acting and receiving energy, the Libra and the Mars energy to have like a healthy sense of self. But at the same time, I think you're also going to start noticing other parts of your life in which you can practice this Mars energy. I think you're gonna notice a lot, like once you get to that point, once you go through this moment of backstabbing or heartbreak or whatever, a moment that you've been mistreated and you have the courage and like ground yourself enough to speak up, like you feel safe enough to speak up, you create that balance, and then suddenly this veil kind of lifts and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, this person treated me poorly and like I just let them, and like I still let them, and you're gonna start speaking up and like setting better boundaries and demanding for people to treat you better. And I think what's also coming through specifically with this card is I think you realize the times that you've offered a lot of yourself without really getting anything in return. And in fact, like, it's not even not getting things in return, but it's just like being taken advantage of because you put out such an energy of like passiveness before. So I think once you embody that Mars energy and sort of like put your foot down and say like, hey, I don't mind helping out, but like you can't expect me to drop everything when you call. I'm gonna pull one final tarot card for you. See if there's any final messages I can pass along before we wrap up. What final messages do you have for group 3? Okay, thank you. So you got the Strength card. This is kind of saying like at the end of this, you're gonna come out with more courage and more strength to assert yourself. I think this is also going to influence how people see you and how people treat you. I think what you accept in terms of treatment is how people will continue to treat you. You're really coming through on the other side with that Mars energy while still keeping the balance that we saw. That's so interesting. It's not how I anticipated the other person in the Sacred Sexuality card to show up, but here we are. But ultimately, I think you're also going to have a lot of compassion for your childhood self who couldn't stand up in those moments. That is all I'm seeing for you. Thank you for letting me read for you today, and I will see you next time. Bye, Group 3.